Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just got back from seeing Pet Sematary, starring John Lithgow and Jason Clarke. Now, the original Pet Sematary was a fairly flawed but still well-made Stephen King film that made the most of his signature style of horror while still being a well-made film in its own right. So I was interested in how the remake would help with that, especially considering that it was made not too long ago and was, in my opinion, the better of the two versions. And while this movie has its fair share of flaws too, it has enough good horror elements and great performances to make it worth watching. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story is about a family that relocates from Boston to Ludlow, Maine, and when they make it there, their neighbor Judd, played by John Lithgow, shows them a pet cemetery, and an area beyond that where if you bury your pet, it can be brought back to life, albeit a little bit different than how you left it. And that's all I'll say about the story without spoiling anything that the trailers haven't already shown. So, what did I like about the film? Well, here's the thing. While it does follow the book, it mainly feels like its own modern take on it. It definitely doesn't follow it word for word, but it does have a faithful understanding of the story's ideas and what makes the story scary in general. Not only that, but Jason Clarke does a pretty good job as the lead. He's basically a doctor who doesn't have a lot of faith in God, even though he does check off a lot of Stephen King cliches when it comes to his protagonists, he still manages to make it work. The same could be said for Judd, played by John Lithgow. Even though he does fulfill the wise old man trope that seems to be in a lot of his films, he manages to put his own spin on it, and he generally gives a good performance. Even the child actors, the ones who have to play his son and daughter, are generally very good. The daughter especially gets to really show off her talents. Now, the set designs of the film are really cool. The pet cemetery itself is very creepy. The costumes for the various people, the masks that the kids wear near the cemetery, they all evoke an uneasy and unsettling vibe that really gets through. And the makeup effects are also very effective. There's realistic looking blood, there's messed up body parts, there's brains, which would, yeah, this is definitely not a film for the squeamish. Even though it's not really a gore fest, the bits of gore that it does show they definitely do not hold back on them. Plus, a lot of the scenes that are supposed to build tension do build it very effectively. Even when it's a fake out, I still do feel pretty tense when it happens. And usually, for every fake out there are at least 2 or 3 scenes that end up with a legit scare, whether it's a jump scare or one that actually does have a decent amount of tension to it. Unfortunately, there are a few issues with the film. One of the big ones is that the first half of the film does have a lot of exposition. Now, I'm not against exposition when it's handled well, but it basically feels like they spent a good portion of the film just explaining certain things and how they go down before they get to the good stuff that's in the second half. Now, while the ending is very good and it happens to handle the creepy vibe very well, it's just getting through the first half that is a bit of a slog. Not only that, but some of the Stephen King cliches can get pretty noticeable, to the point where I might have wanted to play the Stephen King drinking game, and not just because it takes place in Maine, because, let's face it, Stephen King loves Maine. So, when it's all said and done, Pet Sematary isn't exactly the best of remakes, but some good performances, some good horror, and a general faithfulness to the original source makes it worth watching. I give Pet Sematary a 7.5 out of 10. See you next time.